as the hammer the delusion. And second is find an unconditional love within.
Okay.
So you see, we have to, through discernment means through the knowledge, I remove all the misconceptions, wrong notions, which caused me the anxiety. And now my intellect says, I have understood this. But what about the emotional content into that incident? So we have to redirect that emotion, which is caught in emotional dependence, to emotional freedom. So what is lacking, and that is why I chose this text. And I said, only two things are very common in each and every verse, and it explores so deeply, beautifully, every area of our personal, professional, social, and family lives, where we have to hammer the delusion, and at the same time, we have to redirect this emotion, which is still obsessed with something outside, causing the emotional dependence that is known as the attachment. So we have to bring it back to emotional freedom.
Okay. What is he like when I have certain triggers? Are those from past impressions?
Yes,
Okay.
we are going to understand. Yes, you are right. I think I covered briefly in the last session. So what?
Hey, Girish, before we get started today, I was wondering, could we do our lunch on Saturday the 22nd instead of this Saturday?
Oh, 22nd, I am attending a workshop.
Okay. What about the 29th?
Yeah, we can have on 29th.
Okay, I want to move it now because my friend, I totally forgot it's my dad's friend's 70th birthday party, and I've got to go to that. So.
Oh, dad birthday party.
Yeah, he's turning 70. It's his friend, and he's been like a father to me. So,
very good.
So we'll do. I'm gonna put it in my phone now. So Saturday, the June 29th.
Yes, 29th is good.
Okay, thank you, Girish.
Thank you. So,
okay.
So that is emotion directed outside causes attachment, expectation by default. So the knowledge helps me to clear the doubts at the intellectual level. But still, emotions, upsurge of that emotion is not coming down. So we have to find not the conditional love, we give a taste to the mind. Here is an unconditional love. Do you love yourself? Yes. Do you love yourself for the sake of love? Yes. And that is hidden inside. Because of our conditioning, attachment, and anxiety, outside that is hidden. Unconditional love. Simple definition, free from attachment, free from anxiety, free from duality, free from conflict. Unconditional. And conditional love, obsessed with attachment, craving, duality, conflict. So this text is wonderful. Two names. Hammer the delusion and find an unconditional love within. So we need a right knowledge that leads to right perception, right conception, right perception, right sensation. So that right conception also belongs into my past impressions. So those past impressions, there are trillions of impressions are buried inside our mind. It is known as vasana. Vasana means that sits that settles down. Anything that you do every day, from in the waking state, from morning until you retire to the bed, the mind takes the picture of every event, everything, including the thought, feeling, emotions, what you responded, what you are feeling inside. Sometimes we have a duality. So those impressions are accumulated, they multiply, and they trigger. But we have two kinds of thought processes or emotions. We have positive and the negative. So the positive is what the right conception triggers the mind. It results into right perception and the right sensation and the right thought process. And majority of the time it is basically when we are surrounded by anxiety, duality, conflict, it is because of the negative emotions. And then we find we are suffering from anxiety or depression or fear. So we have to follow the two-pronged approach. I have to start discernment, discerning why anxiety, what is the event, how it happened, what I am feeling. That is what we do in a dream. When the tiger chases you, you are sweating, you are in fear, you are in anxiety, and suddenly you wake up. So now intellectually you are very clear. There is no tiger, it was the dream. But you are still sweating, you are still perspiring after the dream. So that is an emotional content, and that is what happens in our daily life. So we have to hammer the delusion by discernment, by the knowledge, by understanding where I fell into the wrong notions and where is the fear, and then we follow the unconditional love. Emotionally redirect our mind to inside to find that pure emotion. Why, you rightly said that it is happening because of our old habits, because of psychological tendencies, because of the past impressions, and because of the attachment to the world outside. And when I am attached to the world outside for anything, any object, anything, now impression of that attachment to an object is accumulated in my mind, of which I am not aware, and now I enter into a different situation and event, so that mind triggers that particular event, it mixes with my thought process, it creates a projected pain or pleasure. It creates, and that is known as sankalpa in the vikalpa. So the first level is our conception part, of which I am not aware fully, because there are trillions of impressions, and which impression will trigger. Positive impression will trigger, sadness is there, and the mind will discern, and you get out of that sadness. Negative emotion trigger, you are caught in an emotional dependence plus fear or anxiety. So Master says you have to hammer the delusion by understanding. If you don't hammer the delusion and you are doing 3 hours of practice of meditation, meditation will not succeed. This is the principle coming from the Upanishads. So you might have seen many people claim they have been practicing meditation for hours, for years together, without any change.
Isn't part of meditation hammering the delusion?
Yes. When you are, say, I say you close your eyes and be comfortable. Your mind says, I am feeling so much of discomfort, and this crazy guy is saying being comfortable. How to be comfortable? This does not make any sense. So there comes, you have to hammer the delusion. Say, mind, listen to it. Listen the instructions. Follow the practice completely. Then you can raise the question. So you have removed the emotional part from the knowledge part. And then you get absorbed into the meditation. Yes, it is very integral part of the meditation. So that is why we explain how you practice the meditation, what are the steps, and we explain each and every part. That is what the hammer the delusion part. And you enter into the practice, that is the unconditional love or the pure emotional part.
Okay.
So this delusion, we use the 3 words for delusion. One word we use Maya, second word we use ignorance, and third word we use false I. False I. So let us take what is this false I in a mathematical equation. False I, or what we say the individual self, this is also known as the individual self. So individual self or the false I is equal to body-mind complex plus real self. There is an element of real self. It is hidden behind the impurities of the mind. It is hidden behind the delusional part of the mind. But it is so. What is the individual self? Is equal to body-mind complex plus real self. Let us explain it further. What is this body-mind complex? So individual self is equal to body, breath, mind, brain, intellect, ego, plus their actions in ignorance, plus intense attachment and aversion towards the object of the world, plus real self. Oh, so it is the individual self which lives in anxiety, reaction, and nothing happens to the real self. Answer is yes. Real self is not at all affected, impacted, not getting carried away. It is just the present. Everything happens to the wave, nothing happens to the water. Everything happens to the birds flying in the sky. If the speed of the wind is very high, the birds will fall into the ground, but space in the sky doesn't fall into the ground. Nothing happens to the sky. That is what, and then from that mathematical equation, we can find out what is real self. Real self is equal to individual self minus body and mind complex, minus all the actions we are taking in ignorance pertaining to the body, breath, mind, intellect. When I'm taking an action in ignorance, I will definitely think, speak, and act in delusion. I have a false notion about people, about the world, about the objects and the things, and that causes a lot of challenges in our life. We have to hammer the delusion. So delusion is personal, individual. So it is present in the individual self. That how the individual self perceive, conceive, feel the sensation. While walking the dog, it happened to you. Oh, I was totally filled with the fear. Oh, you're walking into your community with a dog. What happened to you? No, there were gangsters. They are coming to Phoenix, or they are going to attack you. They are intentionally coming to you to attack you.
Yeah.
You did not discern it. And that is why you were obsessed with the fear. So we have to
Yeah.
hammer the delusion, and we have to then find the unconditional. So that is what the delusion we say. Delusion also simplified, simple definition. What appears true to my mind because of imagined and projected pain and pleasure is not true. What appears true is not true.
Is that the mirage?
That is like a mirage water. Make it more simpler. Have you heard about the third eye?
The third eye?
Yes.
The pineal gland?
That is what people without understanding the Eastern wisdom, they say it is a pineal gland. But yes, we can relate it to the pineal. So why?
Well, no, tell me what it is.
So now you see, third eye, we don't use the word third eyes. We only use third eye. So let us use the first eye, second eye, and then the third eye.
Okay.
So the first eye means the animal mind. Animal mind always act out of the four instincts: the safety, the sex or procreation, or food. And food, sex, safety, security, that is all. Their mind is totally programmed to look only this thing. That is our first eye, the lowest level of evolution. Second eye, we become really a human being. So from the animal mind, we have a human mind. What is the human mind? I know what to do, what not to do. I know I should not harm anyone. I should not be violent. I should not be reactive. That is what all religions teaches, do's and don'ts. I live morally, ethically life. That is the second eye. What is the third eye? Take simple example. You look at the beautiful girl. What is the first eye? Your mind is obviously obsessed with sensuality. That is your first eye. What is the second eye? You look at the same beautiful girl, and you see the second eye says, oh, she looks like my sister. Her face appears like my mom. Sensuality is gone. The righteous action. That is the human mind. No, but what about the third eye? You look at the same beautiful girl. You don't see the wave. You see the one real self is pulsating in me and also in her. So you have an awareness of the reality is known as the third eye. It has nothing to do with the pineal gland.
So, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when I'm living in delusion or ignorance, I'm living with the first or the second eye.
First and the second eye. So your second eye is distorted, and it mixes up with the first eye, and then what appears true is not true. Anyone cannot be an object of sensuality. How it can be? No, I like past eye. It is an object of pleasure. It cannot be an object of pleasure. It is delusion. Look at it. So delusion we understood, but don't forget, hammer the delusion and find unconditional love. Then another word is used for it, the ignorance. I'm ignorant of my real nature. That is why I find myself into the delusion. So I have to remove the ignorance, and one of the best methods is to start questioning the false assumption. That is what the discernment is. Now, what happens? The third word that I used, more commonly used, is the Maya. Maya. So, delusion is individual, Maya is cosmic delusion. Maya is a cosmic delusion. Ignorance is fundamental ignorance that gives rise to Maya. What is that Maya? That I and you are different. We cannot be different. We are different at the level of name and the form. Deeper inside, at the level of our essence, your essence and my essence is only one. The space inside your room and my outside is the same. It cannot be separated, but still I experience that separation. So that is the role of the cosmic illusion. That is known as the Maya. So it means we have a problem of cosmic delusion. We have a problem of, in our mind, the problem of ignorance. We have a problem of delusion. We have to remove them step by step in order to reach to the third eye, or the so-called awakening. The third eye perceives the world is the product and manifestation of the same supreme consciousness. You don't see internally, in a sense, any division, because you don't see any division. If I see that beautiful girl is separate from me, then only I can project the sensuality. But if I see we both are essentially one, so the first eye, second eye is gone. So imagine, perceive, think of that state of the consciousness that reflects through the mind, and that is why the third eye, I say, it is an awakened state. Eyes remain the same thing, the physical eye remains the same thing. You are also looking at, others are also looking at, but your perception is totally different. It comes from deeper inside. And the one who perceives the sensuality, his mind is totally obsessed with the body. He claims that I am the body. That is why I have the sensuality inside.
So when say that again, like when someone's obsessed, like if I'm obsessed with a female, that means I'm really just obsessed with myself?
Yes, I claim that I am the body.
I see.
And that,
how do you get to a point, if we are going to use that as an example, like to where you do look at a beautiful female, but you don't see her, like something internally doesn't spark up where you see her sexually?
Sexually. So it means it is the first eye. So I have to discern, am I the body? That is why it caused a sensual reaction in me. Obviously, answer is yes. But now the next question comes, am I the body, or I possess the body? I am the body, I am an animal mind. The other person, or that beautiful girl, oh, that's good, let me appreciate the beauty, finished. Human mind, second eye. Oh, I go beyond the gender, age, sexuality. I only see the consciousness pervading everywhere. Third eye. You take any example, you use this first eye, second eye, and third eye. It will help you to remove the delusional part in your behavior, in your action, in your thought, in your speech, in your emotions.
I think the tough part, like as we've been working together and along this journey, is that like you can explain to me that I'm not the body by going through your simple things that you say, and I get it, and I say, yeah, I am not the body, but then I still act as the body. So I'm living, so I can say I know it, but maybe I don't know it, because if I'm still living as the body, then I don't know it fully.
You're 100% right. And that is where you keep on listening, contemplating, reflecting, plus you keep on doing the practice. So that practice will help your mind to start living in a higher awareness. And with that higher awareness, one day you will wake up and the whole day will pass peacefully with that discernment that I am not the body. The way you see that you are not the car, but you are still you use the car. Still you are not the smartphone, but still you are using the smartphone. So you will start realizing this body is just an instrument to be used. So once we have that awareness that now this body is an instrument, I have to use it. Let me use it. Use it, finished. Use it, finished. So that separation comes because of the higher level of awareness. It is very easy to see this mouse is separate from me.
Is it a problem that I exercise so much and like the way that my body looks because of it?
That demands a discernment that you yes. There may be some kind of a false notion. If you are doing an exercise due to the false notion, you have to remove all the false notion and then see what exercises are necessary to be done to keep this body fit. But if you are overdoing it for some other reasons, not only for physical well-being, so that is keeping you obsessed with the body, definitely.
Yeah.
That is keeping you obsessed with the body, and any kind of an obsession puts my mind into the animal mind, and that is another delusion we have to tackle. We have to organize, reorganize. You have to place the priority. Oh, this is my priority.
Okay.
So moha, delusion. It's a specific form of a delusion that arises from ignorance and is characterized by attachment, projection, infatuation, and confusion. I'm confused and I have to show my body. Are you going to the gym to show your body? Or are you going to the gym to keep you physically fit? What exactly is goal? Discern. Be very clear. Reach to a point to remove the confusion. And then your mind will say, I will only do this much. That is enough for me. Finished. How many people have been going to the gym? How many people really got an accolation or adoration that you are the smartest guy? Nobody cares for others. Nobody. Fact is that no one. But it doesn't mean that we should not keep our body fit. It is a mental state in which an individual becomes deeply attached to or infatuated with the temporary and illusory aspect of the world, such as sensory pleasure, relationship, possessiveness, or an idea of recognition. I remember, have you read about Abraham Lincoln?
No.
No? You should read about this guy. He's a great genius. If you read his letters that he addressed during the independence struggle, you will see what kind of a genius he had. He had those ideas which is very much prevalent here. But why I referred Abraham Lincoln? He is known as one of the most famous presidents of United States. I used to read about him in India in an American library attached to the American embassy.
That's cool.
And but what I wanted to tell you, have you seen the picture of Abraham Lincoln? Perhaps the ugliest person.
Very much so.
But what about his genius? Nobody looks at his body. Everyone looks at his genius.
True.
So we have to discern like this. So what happens that this delusion is one of the 6 enemies present in the mind. One is the desire, second is the hesitation because of the desire, greed because of the desire, and all the 3 creates a delusion. And that is how what appears true is not true. Because in the background, the mind is pushing you to grab this, to get this. So now the 4, we have desire, hesitation, greed, delusion. It gives rise to a pride, a sense of the individual self. And I have already given you a definition of individual self is equal to body-mind complex, or body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego, plus their combined action in the form of thought, speech, and action, plus pain and pleasure, duality and a conflict, plus the real self. So here we understand this is what the delusion is. Now understand this delusion affects at a very deeper level, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, physically. Your personal life, your professional life, your social life. That delusion is there. What is the delusion? What appears true is not true. Very good. Now that idea, that thought supported by emotion is already present in you throughout the day. Now you see, you genuinely love your parents. You go to your parents, but that delusion is already present. They say you something and you get reacted because of the delusion. So delusion impacts you in your relations, in your personal life, and who knows? No one knows when this delusion will trigger your mind. And that is why we don't plan to be angry. We say, no, it happened to me. I just became angry. I just became upset. I just became sad. I was totally frustrated. I was beset with the fear. Delusion. That is why every time I have started asking you, you are becoming a seeker, that how many times you were into anxiety or any issues that you have, anxiety reaction, or did you live your life completely in the state of the calmness with the discernment? You have hammered the delusion and you are doing the practice, so the inner love will continue to manifest. So delusion is basically a mental state. It is characterized by confusion. Because of the confusion, I get obsessed. If I have a clarity how I should be obsessed. No, pasta will give me the pleasure. I'm obsessed with the pasta. Now I know that pleasure is not the property of the pasta, so the confusion is gone by the discernment. But I have to repeat it again and again until this power of discernment settles in my intellect and intellect perceives with the clarity. But again, the emotional part, I have to deal with it. Emotional love. Another way to say delusion in our mind is due to the lack of these simple principles of Eastern wisdom. There is a lack of knowledge. There is a lack of understanding. There is a misconception that I am a consumer of the entire world. So when I am a consumer, then only I am attracted. Then I have a first eye. Otherwise, there is no chance. Even if you have a second eye, you cannot have that delusion. You cannot have that delusion. Think of it. So, yes, understanding that is the basic problem. So now this delusion is caused by the ignorance. What is ignorance? Ignorance means I don't know. Do I know my real nature? No. So if I don't know my real nature, then I'm the body and the mind. Well, if I'm the body and the mind, then whatever my mind thinks and that pleases me is the right thing to do. Sensuality comes, anxiety comes, reaction comes. Because I don't have a right perception. I am the body-mind complex. See that? So it is caused by the ignorance. What is ignorance? I don't know my real nature. If I know my real nature, I am of the nature of peace and happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Why I will start searching for any peace and happiness outside, including sensual pleasure? So when we say ignorance, one thing that I don't know. Second thing that I don't know these fundamentals which are not settled in my mind. And because they are not settled in my mind, with the power of discernment, they don't come to my mind to rescue me. And then I go back home, I'm lying down on the bed, and I have an imagined projection of the sensuality. I wake up in the morning and I remember that. So my goal becomes that infatuation. This is what happens to every day. That is why I have been asking you how many times you were anxious, reactive, upset. You have a strong likes and dislikes. So because you are a seeker, you live your life with the discernment, so that we can discuss and understand, and we can hammer the delusion. There is a misidentification in the delusion also. So, misidentification. I have everything. Why should I? It gives you a big ego, the false I, sense of the false I. And once we have a false I, that is the biggest delusion in our life. We are talking about hammer the delusion by the discernment and find unconditional love. So from where all the delusion and illusion and ignorance comes, it is because of trillions of impressions are already stored in my mind, which I say vasana. So whether if you want to remember, the moment you have an anxiety, so you ask the question to your mind that which impression has triggered me, which conception presented at the unconscious level manifest at my level of the mind, which is causing the anxiety. So let me understand. Then let me find out the situation. So the first level is what we say the conception or the vasana. That is already present. You cannot get into anxiety without any rhyme and reason. There must be some reason. And the reason is the vasana, the storehouse of these impressions. Second step is the projection. From the vasana we have two Two types of the vasanas, positive and the negative. Both positive and the negative, one projects pleasure, other projects fear, pain, and the anxiety. We both contains both, every human being. You cannot say one human being is 100% wrong. You cannot say every human being is, one human being is 100% right. It's a positive mixture. And why? Because of that impressions, trillions of impressions, which are already stored in my head. So the master says we have to release, we have to dissolve, we have to destroy what is the storehouse of these impressions. Where is the way to destroy? That is what the impurity of the mind, we are purifying the mind. So hammer the delusion, find the unconditional love inside. So when I have an unconditional love inside, I don't carried away by any emotional dependence on any person, thing, event, situation in my life. Sensuality, or you see, I'm seeking pleasure from this object. So there are two parts. One is the thought projected. My thought says this object will give me a pleasure, and behind that there is an emotional part. That is attachment part. Otherwise, there is no reason why you should be anxiety. Why should your mood is upset? Why you react? Why you are scared? Why you have fear? So that vasana, that conception. So how can I become aware of these vasanas? Every day, I just spend 10 or 15 minutes every day. Look back your life when you woke up, what your mind you said in terms of the thought, feeling, and emotion. When you met someone, what was the feeling inside? So continue. So you start examining all your activities from the morning until the evening. Make a list where you got into anxiety, where you have a dual thought process, what you said to the other, and what was going into your mind. So write it down, and then each point you discern. You are hammering the delusion every day. You are clearing the mind every day, and that clarity every day. Today it may be 1%, tomorrow it becomes 2%, in 100 days it becomes 100%. It demands a regular practice, regular contemplation and reflection. If you are not doing the regular practice, then you create more impressions. You will suffer. Then you will say, I have been attending and listening to your talk for so many years. Nothing happened to me. Nothing will happen to you, sir. Because every day situation is different, event is different, time is different, responses are different. I have to live life consciously. There is no way I should lack awareness. Most important thing to be done is to find my real self. In all the situations, at all the time, in all my relationships. If that is so at all the time, in all the locations, then I have to live my life consciously. That makes you a seeker. And if we are not a seeker, I forget it. Oh, let me enjoy all kinds of pleasure. Tomorrow I will discern. Today is the event of my pleasure. Then you have created more impression. It will rebound back. impression deeper inside, of which I am not aware. Now suddenly I perceive some object of the pleasure or pain. Perception. Conception, I don't know. Perception, I don't become aware. There is a lack of awareness. I move to the first eye. And that is why I have a sensation. Do you see that clearly?
Yeah.
So three things. Conception, that is why I'm using the word conception for vasana to make it easy. Conceive. So the thought, feeling, knowledge in the form of conception is already present in the storehouse of my mind. And that conception, unexamined life, triggers me to perceive in a different way. What happens? This is this is a restaurant. That's okay. I have seen it. But then why the saliva is coming from my mouth? So instantly there is a perception and sensation. It triggered your mind in a fraction of a millisecond, and you are out of your mind. So it doesn't mean, I told you before, we have a positive and we have a negative vasana. Sometimes the positive vasana, it is the positive vasana, it is the positive conceptions you are listening to me. That is also the result of the same vasana. Some innate desire to let me find out my real self. This is what I have understood. I have yet to understand. I have a lot of doubts. So let me have a teacher. So that is where the perception falls and the sensation you bring about the changes in your life. But if you have the negative vasana, then what happens? Conception, perception, sensation, and suffering begins. And that suffering manifest in the form of anxiety, little bit of trigger of anger, upset, mood upset, I'm frustrated, I don't want to go there. In my business, in my personal life, in my professional life, I have a lot of those challenges. So when you discern, find out, oh, it's a conception. So now I can resurface that conception part because I went into anxiety. And then you start finding the cause. It means these impressions were buried inside me. And when you are repeating, you will recognize in your past, since your childhood, you had those events which created those impressions, and you continue the journey, you get out of that delusion. Suffering comes. So, means what? When I am angry or upset, mood is upset. I have already discussed about impure states of the mind. Money mind, strong likes and dislikes mind, anxious mind, obsessed mind, etc., etc., infatuated mind. You can add more. Okay, so I have to identify the negative vasanas through self-reflection and discernment. I have to challenge by asking the question what, why, how, where, and when. Is it necessary? Is it important to enter into the anxiety? If I have done like this, if I have felt like this, there is no reason to be anxious. There is no reason to react. So what is happening? Intellectually, you are cultivating a detachment, but the emotional part is left. We have to redirect that mind inside to find that unconditional love by practice. Are you getting it? Hammer the delusion, find the unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see that it happens in a fraction of a millisecond, or you not only fraction of a millisecond, but a fraction of 1 million times millisecond. So what is behind that? Our master says our projection of pain and the pleasure in a different situation, in a relationship or sensuality or infatuation, is caused by many factors. One of them is the mistaken identity. I mistake myself that I'm made for pleasure. I'm the source of pleasure. Second problem is the error in perception. My perception is filled with the error, with the wrong thought. I perceive with a sense of affliction that causes the fear and the anxiety. Or my past impression is already have a very heavy emotional dependence. So every time I perceive outside a particular situation, event, or a thing, I enter into a sense of emotional dependence. And the last but not the least, that projection causes the illusion, a false perception of the reality. Then what happens? I lose my awareness. There is a lack of awareness of reality. I feel the sense of emptiness. In that sense of emptiness, there is a moment of infatuation, there is a moment of anxiety, or moment of sadness, or moment of frustration. Then your mind says, I'm frustrated. I don't like this, I hate this, I was into anxiety, I have a lot of fear, what to do? This happens in a fraction of a millisecond. And then what happens? I see my anxiety is real, my upset is real, my reaction is real, my anger is real. Fact is that they are not real. They are not the part of the real self. They are the part of the individual self, body, mind, complex, plus their actions, plus pain and pleasure, from where I experienced the pain and pleasure, because I had experienced in the past vasana. So the entire cycle moves in such a polished way, like artificial intelligence, and it gives you the false impression or a belief that you see that you are suffering. Fact is that you are not at all suffering. So this master who wrote this text, he lived only for 32 years. He gave commentaries to our principal Upanishads, and he was known as a polymath, great master. Great master. Because of his presence, you will be surprised that the Buddhism is wiped out in the 8th century from India. And it continued, it was present in Burma and other countries because his presence, his dialogue, his discourses, his books, his teaching is so emphatic, so dynamic, so much vibrant. Only because of the knowledge, logical, no belief, cult, dogma, religion, etc. We respect, we adore this master. So, hammer the delusion means I'm not compromising. There is an uncompromising approach by understanding how the delusion is caused and what is the manifestation, whether it is anxiety, anger, duality, and conflict. I have to work on this. Hammering the delusion. Metaphorically, that I challenge my false perception. What is false perception? Anything that causes anxiety, duality, conflict, dependence, infatuation, etc. Am I not independent? Why am I chasing something outside? Why? What happened to you? So you challenge that. That is what the hammering the delusion. And another name of this text is unconditional love. Awaken to unconditional love. You should love the one who can offer you the unconditional love. I married in 2020. I said, very good. Then I divorced in 2024. I said, very good. Now I am suffering from stress. Perfect example of the delusion and the emotional dependence. After divorce, I feel the sense of isolation and emptiness and loneliness because there is no one to fight with. So hence I remarry because my impressions are still the same. My impressions, I have not taken care of that impression. I said, so what you are planning? Do you plan to remarry? Oh, yes, I'm planning. So I said, first remarriage and then come to me. I'm not teaching you. What happened? I said, you don't want to understand. I'm not against anything, any marriage, but first you understand. So attachment, aversion, strong likes and dislikes, blame, complaint, reaction prevents the unconditional love to manifest. I have to dissolve it first. Then I have to see. What I have to see? I have to see what is that full of unconditional love. One is the unreal self. One is that real self inside. So I cannot find the real self now. So, okay, have an image of that is why we created 330 million gods and goddesses. Only 330 million. Based on your temperament, I can choose the image of the Krishna. Krishna is also known as the image of the Rama, maybe image of the Jesus. If you have lot of emotional conflicts and Jesus said love is God, okay, image of the Jesus. So what I do, I redirect that emotional dependence to the Jesus. We will learn that. I'm just telling you the principle. So I redirect that emotional dependence to the Jesus. Now I depend on you, Jesus. Today I was in anxiety, but now it is because that I emotionally dependent on this person and he cheated me. You are not going to cheat me. You are full of love and compassion. So this is basically a redirection of the emotional content caught or emotional content projected by the delusion in the form of attachment and aversion, strong likes and dislikes, blame, complaint, and reaction. Now I'm attached to you, Jesus. Finished. I'm attached to you, Krishna. Finished. I did it on my master. Master, you have to take care of all my attachments. Now I'm only attached to you. So instead of getting attached to anything outside, I'm attached to my master.
Can you explain that to me maybe further next time we meet?
Yeah.
About like being attached to Krishna or you or
Yes,
Jesus.
yes, we will do that.
Okay.
Oh, it's a time. Okay, okay, thank you.
Oh
I
yeah, sorry.
I didn't know that.